The way I think about it is that if the most successful people on the planet today can benefit from coaching, why wouldn't I?
Welcome to your Career Revolution podcast, the place where you will learn how to reimagine and reclaim the life of your dreams. I am your host, Courtney Dyksterhouse, and I am joined by Tamara Loring, the Chief of Brand Ideology at the Entrepreneur Source, and Marissa Frois, the CEO at the Entrepreneur Source. Both of these women, they have a deep passion to see you live out your self-sufficient dreams. Ladies, thank you once again for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us
Nice
again.
to be here.
Well, this is a podcast based on the book, Your Career Revolution. And over the next 3 episodes, we are going to continue breaking down this book chapter by chapter. That way, by the end, you can start experiencing success and turn your dreams into a reality. So if you have not listened to the first 4 episodes, you'll probably want to go back and listen to those before diving in with us today. All right, we are going to be wrapping up part 2 of the book today, which has been all about how to reimagine your better and brighter future. Then, in our final 2 episodes, we will talk about how to reclaim the life of your dreams. In today's episode, we're going to discuss why being open to coaching makes all the difference. So let's dive right in. So I know that the more successful people become, the more they realize how much they need coaching. It's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, show me any successful person who's completely self-made, Courtney, and you're showing me something new. I think it's the more successful people become, the more they realize that it's impossible to be the expert at everything. And interestingly enough, one of the things that I've observed is the more successful people become, the more open they are to coaching. Successful people, I find, enlist the help and the assistance of others, whether it be a personal coach, a sports coach, a business coach, a career ownership coach. The way I think about it is that if the most successful people on the planet today can benefit from coaching, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? I love Michael Jordan's quote. He says, look, a coach is someone that sees beyond your limits and guides you to greatness. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
I've also spoken with some thought leaders and they've said something very similar to that. And also, the more successful you become, the less pride you have with trying to do everything on your own. You realize that this is sometimes a group effort and you just want the best results and to humble yourself in the process in order to get that, in order to be the best version of yourself or to get the best results that you want. I mean, speak into that a little bit.
I find that to be very true. I'm always in awe of these people that I admire. And, when I meet them, I think they're going to be untouchable. And then I realize that there's such humility and that they want to pick my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh, like who on earth am I? I want to pick your brain. But I've admired that. But you're right. The more successful you become, the more they give credit to other people also, the more they say, oh no, this is not me. This is my team. We do it together. And it is so true. If you think about it, what have you truly done to contribute to society? Yes, maybe you've put in your best effort and you've done your heart, given it your best shot. But if it wasn't for the community, if it wasn't for the infrastructure, if it wasn't for somebody else's belief in you, could you really have done that? So yeah, there is no such a thing as somebody who has been successful or a self-made success. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's good. And if they say that, then they're probably not being fully truthful. Well, in this book, there are 3 important ways a coach helps their clients. What are those 3 things?
So, Courtney, on one of our previous episodes, we were actually talking about friends and family and sometimes dealing with crabs in a basket when exploring your career 2.0. And you asked something along the lines of, what can you do if you don't have the right people in your life that support you and will help you stay on track? And one of the things we reference is that TES and our career ownership coaches are committed to helping any individual that wants to explore what's next, but needs that support partner to do it with. So that's step 1. Our career ownership coach provides a safe environment. They ask thought-provoking and tough questions to really challenge your thinking and mindset, and they hold up a mirror so that you can become accountable to yourself and allow yourself to reach your maximum potential. So, here are the three things that a coach will also do. First is education. A coach provides a safe space for you to learn and educate yourself and to examine areas of your life that hold the answer to your future. Two is awareness. A coach creates an environment for you to become aware of what is and what could be possible for you. And last is discovery. So, a coach can help you discover what's possible and what you need to do to make your dreams a reality by holding you accountable to what you say you want as it relates to your goals, needs, and expectations. So, if that sounds exciting to you and you feel like you
Hmm.
could benefit from this type of relationship, then TES definitely has your back.
That's great. Education, awareness, discovery, all those things sound like something that are just so inviting for somebody who's ready to take the next step. Like that is the thing. The education, the awareness, the discovery, and again, somebody who is a step ahead of you or maybe 20 steps ahead of you that can help you
For
along the
sure.
way. So that's great. All right. I want you to paint the picture for us of what an optimal coaching experience
Mm.
looks like. This is interesting. Paint
Sure,
that for
sure.
me.
So there is a growing distrust in organizations and institutions, including things like government, media, and corporations. The world where a handshake and verbal agreements meant everything have unfortunately been replaced with mistrust and skepticism. Our world craves trustworthy leaders who have our best interests in mind. So, for this reason, leadership, relationship, and opportunity are the three pillars of our coaching experience. And just to add one more thought, and this is actually something I just mentioned earlier, the coaching experience is a safe space filled with education, awareness, and discovery, which only adds to that optimal experience.
Let's talk about leadership for a second. How can someone discern good leadership when searching for that right
Mm,
coach?
I could probably spend an entire episode just talking about this. There's so much to consider when looking for a good leader and a coach. So I'm going to try and summarize and keep it brief. But first, I think it's important that this individual takes the time to get to know you, your unique goals for yourself and your family, your motivations, your aspirations, your background and transferable skills, plus so much more. The point is, this is about you. So they are taking as much time as needed to learn about you and tailoring the coaching to your unique goals, needs, and expectations. So that's number one. Number two, they hold you accountable to the goals that are being discussed, even if that may be a little uncomfortable at times. I think they also provide direction and help you overcome fear and navigate confusion. They provide structure to help locate and leverage your internal compass. And then, last and probably most importantly, they really help you define your biggest dreams and aspirations and keep bringing you back to what is important.
That all sounds wonderful. Well, let's talk about relationship. Relationship, you talk about trust a little bit. So I want to spend some time with relationships. What makes up a good relationship with a coach? What should we be looking
Yeah,
for?
Courtney, that is so important because, like Marissa said, leadership and direction is so important. But there's more to coaching than just that. You could be
Mm.
getting the best coaching, the best advice, the best mentoring. But if you don't trust the person or the organization or the institution or the system, all of that is worthless. Relationship is about knowing exactly who you can trust. And in order for coaching to be effective, you need to be able to know that you can trust your coach, that you can trust their intention and their motivation 100%, right? Otherwise, it's not going to work. And remember that trust is not something that I can demand. I cannot say, hey, Courtney,
Mm.
trust me. I can say it, but that's not going to increase the likelihood that you do. Trust is earned. And in today's world, I know that can be so difficult, right? Who can we really, really trust? I mean, when we look at failed pension plans, right? Sometimes it's hard to trust our government. When we look at dead end jobs, like Marissa was saying, sometimes it's hard to trust those corporations. When we look at irrelevant higher education, you're wondering whether the educational institutions are letting us down. So it's these types of things that are really clouding our minds, and it's making people doubt whether it's people, systems, institutions, all these organizations that promise so much that was supposed to lead us to a better future people have become skeptical. So I don't blame them. So really, you just need to model behavior. And that is what people will draw people closer to you and know your intent and your motivation for them. So trust is so important.
And I think to your point, when you model that behavior and they're assessing it, it takes
Yes.
time, trust and time, the
Yes.
two T's, and knowing that it's not an exchange that
Yeah.
happens immediately. For some, you just have this connection. You're like, I just feel this sense of trust with this person. But then in other situations, it's like, well, let's have a couple conversations, or maybe they had an experience with another coach that didn't end well, and they need that time. But how do you navigate through just the time that it takes for people to
That is
trust?
a
What does
good
that
point.
look like
Well,
for you
nowadays
guys?
too, right? Thankfully we can Google things, right? So it's our reputation. It is, are these people upholding their brand promise? Are they who they say they are? How do we trust the online retailers? We look for 5-star rankings. We look at what other people say about it. So
Mm.
thankfully there's access to, what are others saying? Do my friends and family and people I trust also trust these individuals?
Well, let's spend some time on opportunity because I think that's interesting. So, somebody that finds that coach and they have great direction, they have that trust with them. How does that lead to helping their client explore all the opportunities that are
Yeah,
in front of them?
so hopefully once we have leadership and relationship established, that will create an environment that will spark your curiosity to, at the very least, be open to discovery. I promise you, when you learn about things that weren't even on your radar, amazing things start to unfold. Not only do you start developing belief in yourself and your own potential, but you start seeing possibilities all around you. And in this environment,
Hmm.
mindsets are transformed. Your ideology and your worldview is forever changed. I know for me personally, I now see an abundance of opportunities everywhere, right? Courtney, I know that on one of our previous episodes, you called me out when Marissa was saying financial freedom. And I'm like, yes, I got so excited because there is no feeling like this, when you start seeing the abundance of opportunities, not just for yourself, but for everybody else, that starts to feel liberating rather than feeling like there are no opportunities and there's a scarcity, just feeling like there's so much that is liberating. Then add to it financial
Yeah.
literacy. Now that's empowerment. That is freedom.
I love that. You sometimes, well, most oftentimes, you really need literally somebody to speak that over you in the way that you have. Like your past does not have to determine your future. And we can say that to ourselves all day, but sometimes it takes that coach to be able to speak that over us for us to finally be able to say, okay, I'm going to believe this. Like I'm going to take this as my own belief now and what I value and then move forward in that
Absolutely.
posture.
The only thing that we ask you to do is remain coachable, right? Don't have a closed mind. Remain coachable. One of my favorite quotes is from Zen Master Suzuki, and he says, in the beginner's mind, there's so many possibilities. It's what you learn after you think you know it all that really, really counts, right? And also, I want you to remember that, for most of us, we're so confused, and we dispelled some of the myths last time, but we think the job, the investment, the business is the dream, but it's not. There's merely vehicles to the dream. So the job, the investment, the business is not the dream, but simply a vehicle to the dream.
That's so good. So let's say that I have found a great coach, a fantastic coach that you speak of, and I'm finally working with them. What is next? What can I expect in that coaching session?
Yeah, so first, and I think this is actually a theme you've been hearing throughout all of our episodes, is you don't have to explore what's possible on your own. And honestly, you probably shouldn't. So if you're open to working with a career ownership coach, I really do think that's step one. But in terms of the important things to be aware of, I think there's really two big ones. First, keep an open mind. You've probably heard us say that so many times. Keep an open mind. Don't prematurely dismiss anything or resist because of what you know today. The key isn't to look for evidence to prove your preconceptions, but instead it's to explore, learn, and be fascinated by all of the new information and options that you've never thought were possible. Don't limit yourself to amazing possibilities. And then, second, is make no decisions. We believe everyone has a dream worth pursuing. So this is purely a time for exploration and just to see what's possible.
Yes, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. If you are listening, you have a notepad, I want you to write that down.
Yes.
Keep an open
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
You can be what keeps yourself from being successful.
Absolutely.
Most oftentimes it is ourselves that keep us from success. And so I think that's the first step is if you can keep an open mind, my
Hmm.
goodness, the doors and the possibilities that are waiting for you on the other side are
Endless. Yes.
immense.
Yep.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the responsibility that the coach has to their client. What does the client need to take ownership of in this process?
So although a career ownership coach can act as your guide throughout, you are still in charge of your learning. You are in charge of how fast or how slow you want to go because an insight may just take a moment, but sometimes it needs work, right? Because we have these limiting beliefs that we need to work through. We've got these thoughts where we really have to think about our thinking, what is real, what is perceived, right? So it may or not go fast, or sometimes you need to slow things down. So you are in charge of your own journey. Look, a coach will support you. A coach's job is actually to challenge you, highlight what may be holding you back. But for coaching to work, you are the one who has to commit to keeping an open mind and not making any decisions prematurely. Because if you do, you're actually robbing yourself of the possibilities. One of my favorite proverbs is, and I think about this all the time, especially when I find myself resisting something, I say to myself, Tamara, remember, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mm, I love that. I feel like that's one that you put on a sticky note and you stick it to your mirror, and then you start to recite that to yourself and remind yourself that, yes, when you decide that you are ready, then there is a world of possibility. You talked about possibility a lot in this episode. There's a world of possibility for you that's waiting, that's ready to cheer you on. Not only that, but link arms with you and take you forward. So
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
great
you've probably
insight.
realized this yourself, right? When they call it recency bias, right? Where suddenly you never hear about something and you book a vacation or you buy a car and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, everybody's going to Iceland on vacation. When did that become a popular place? Or wait a minute, everybody's buying this or that kind of car. When did that happen? It's not that anything around you changed, but your perception and your awareness of what's around you changes. So the same thing here. A coach will open
Yes.
up your eyes and you will start thinking like, "Oh my goodness, was I always able to take charge of my career? Was I always able to pursue self-sufficiency?" And the answer is yes. A coach will help you find the answer within you so that you can see the world from a whole new perspective.
Mm. And I also think you mentioned the pacing, right? Like going at
Yes.
your own pacing and to not look at the person next to you, to your right or to your left, in order to feel like you're behind or oh, I need to pick this up. I mean, what do you say about that for people to really keep to
Yeah,
their own
just be
race?
honest with yourself. And a coach is really great because they can see what's going on. Sometimes you need that safe space to really think about your thinking. And sometimes you procrastinate and you take your time because I'm not ready yet. So a coach will be able to determine, when do they need to create the safe space so that you really can get to terms with your reality and what you really want. And when are you holding on to your old winning ways and your current comfort zone? Because if you stay there for too long and if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got, right? So your goal is to get something new. So you do need to at some point leave your current comfort zone in order to be able to experience new things and in order to make meaningful change in your life. So it is a delicate balance, right? And it could change from 1 minute to the next. Like you and I could be speaking and you're like, man, it sounds like Tamara believes in my dream. Yes, I can do that. And the next moment you have this other voice saying like, wait a minute, like, hold on, not so fast. So,
Yes.
I think it's what they call to be human, right? So just
Yeah.
realizing that courage is not a fear-free state, but it's having the courage to take action towards the thing that is actually really meaningful to you in your life.
Mm. Well, I'm curious, especially after listening to you both for the past few episodes, what makes the relationship between the entrepreneur sources coaching and clients so unique?
Oh, yes. changing direction and pursuing a new career path and following your dreams can definitely feel like navigating uncharted waters. Just the other day, I was speaking to individuals and we were talking about this very thing. And I said, do you know what? If you have sweaty palms, that means you're on the right track. That means you're doing something that's worthwhile pursuing. Because if you weren't feeling any anticipation, any anxiety, I'd have to check your pulse. That would not be normal, right? So this change is tough, but realizing that there are going to be times that your coach will challenge you, right? Not because they want friction, but because they want to hold you accountable to what you say you want. We love to call it carefrontations. Courtney, I care enough about your dreams to have the tough conversations about, hey, if you don't do anything, nothing's going to change, right? And can you live with yourself if that were to happen, right? So we call them carefrontations because we believe everybody has a dream worthwhile pursuing. And look, like I said, there are going to be days that as a coach, I may actually believe in you and your potential and your dreams, maybe more than you do at that moment. And you can say, well, how's that possible, right? Those were those voices I was talking about, where one minute you think you can, and then the other minute you talk yourself out of it. But a coach won't give up on you. That is, if you don't give up on yourself, because everybody has a dream worthwhile pursuing, and we believe in your possibilities, your options, your dreams. Do you? Look, no one needs to walk alone. So there are resources, there are people who can walk with you along the way.
Oh my goodness. This gives me so much hope and excitement. So if you're listening to this right now, I mean, I sign me up, sign me up for somebody who believes in me sometimes more than I believe in myself. And that's somebody that is really going to walk alongside of you and not give up, be the cheerleader that some people don't have in their life at all. And that's where you guys come in. So thank you for sharing that. That's very, very exciting. Well, now you know how to reimagine the life of your dreams. I mean, gosh, it's right there for you by getting to the heart of what you really want and addressing those F words that might get in your way. And by linking arms with a career coach who will help you imagine what is possible. And that means you are ready to reclaim the life of your dreams. Oh, yes. And we are going to be talking all about this in our next episode. So stay tuned, ladies. Once again, thank you so much for joining me today.
It is
Thanks
our
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Well, you are 5 episodes down and you got 2 more to go. And I want to remind you that if you haven't gotten the physical copy of this book, now is the time to do it. If you're anything like me, then you've got to take notes in the margins and you got to highlight important parts that speak to you. So don't let this podcast series end without you grabbing your copy of Your Career Revolution. Tamara's got it right there. She is waving it proudly, as she should. This will be a book that you constantly refer back to, as she is right now, as you build your new career. So make sure to grab yours wherever books are sold. And I've got a link for you in the show notes for that. All right. Every time you listen to this podcast, you're saying yes to the life of your dreams. Every day is a step closer to the version of yourself that you now know is inside of you. We are proud of you. Do not give up, and never forget to keep an open mind and always remember what's possible. We'll see you next time.